Approval stuck in someone's inbox again. Let's fix that. Business Process Automate turns messy approvals into clean, automated workflows. No code. Let's build one. This is BPA, your workspace for building and managing business processes. Need help along the way? Use AI to ask questions, get guidance, and move faster. Build and Design brings together forms, workflows, apps, agents, and more, all in one place. For this example, we'll use Form Studio. Click New Form and fill in the form key, form name, and description. Click Create Form. Welcome to the workspace. You can build forms manually using drag and drop controls. Or use BPA AI Assistant to generate forms and suggest fields. For this example, we'll use AI to create a purchase request form. Describe what you need, and AI Assistant will suggest a form structure for you to review before applying. AI is now analyzing your request and preparing a proposed structure. Now that the suggestions are ready, review them, make changes if needed, then apply when you're ready. Now the form has been generated, complete with the approvals and the information needed for the purchase request process. AI gives you a starting point. Now, let's customize it. On the top right, you'll find Controls and Properties. On the controls, you'll find a wide range of components for customizing your form, such as text fields, selection fields, date and time, and more. Next, let's add a file upload to the Purchase Detail section. Drag and drop it into the form. Then customize it by editing the label. Adding help text, configuring tooltips, and adjusting the field properties. And just like that, it's added to the form. Do you need this field to be mandatory? Simply enable required, and users must complete it before submitting the form. Now let's making form smarter with conditional logic. Let's make the comment field appear only when the decision is reject. To apply conditional logic, select the field, go to Properties. Find conditional logic and create the rule. Or simply describe what you need to our AI assistant. Describe the logic you want and let BPA AI Assistant do the work. Review the suggestions, apply them, and the logic is instantly added to the form. You can now see the visibility icon on the comment field, indicating the logic has been applied. Don't forget to save your changes, then preview the form to test the conditional logic. Notice how the comment field appears when reject is selected and stays hidden for other options. Different stages need different information. Let's configure form views. Now, let's move to form views. By default, BPA provides two built-in views, OnStart and After Submit. For the OnStart view, we'll enable only request details and purchase details. Each view allows you to control which sections are visible, editable, or expanded at different stages of the process. Next, let's create a custom view for Manager Approval. Configure the Manager Approval section to be visible and editable. Then, create the Procurement Approval view and configure the Procurement Approval section the same way. Finally, create the Director Approval view. Keep all sections visible, but allow editing only in the Director Approval section. With all views configured, each user will see only the information relevant to their stage in the process. The form is ready. Now, let's build the flow. Go to Flow Studio and create a new flow by entering the flow name and description. Click Create Flow. Once created, choose from a variety of templates, including blank flow, simple approval, multi-step review, automated pipeline, data lookup and notify, threshold alert, data sync with error handling, and scheduled follow-up. For this example, multi-step review fits best. Select the template to generate the starting structure for your workflow. Each step represents how requests move through the approval process. You can extend the workflow by adding sequential steps or parallel blocks. Let's add sequential steps. Now, let's configure the workflow. Starting from the start step, define who can trigger the process. You can assign this to any user or specific roles. Here, we'll select any user. Next, let's configure the submit step. For each step, we can define the tasks, views, and assignees. First, associate the form needed for this step. A flow can contain multiple forms, but for this example, we'll only use Purchase Request Form. Then configure the view, select OnStart, and define who can run this step. For this example, we'll select BPA Group, all users. Each step can has its own conditions. Here we set one. Only process this request if the submission is still in draft. This prevents the same request from being approved twice. Next, let's move to the Approval step. Here, we can rename the step to Manager Approval. Click the task inside the step box and select the form we want to integrate. We can also do this using BPA AI Assistant here, but for this example, let's configure it manually. Next, select the view and choose Manager Approval, so only the Manager Approval view configured in the form will be displayed. For the assignee, we can use an Entra group or create a group directly in BPA settings using email addresses. In this example, we already have a group configured in settings called BPA Group, so let's use that. Inside the group, we have multiple roles that we can configure in settings. Let's choose Manager here, so it is only Manager role who can execute this step. Additional controls are also available for each step. Use Send Back when requests need revisions, and configure timeouts and retries to manage delays and incomplete tasks. And next, let's configure the procurement step. Here, you can update the activity name and description. You can also configure what happens during this stage. Each step supports a wide range of actions, including form and app tasks, automations, flow control, integrations, notifications, AI agents, user management, and data operations. This allows workflows to go beyond simple approvals and support more complex business processes. For this example, we'll use User Task Form. Configure the properties just like before by editing the action name, selecting the form, choosing the Procurement Approval view, and defining the assignee. Next, let's configure the Director Approval step. Add the task action, then define when this step should run. For this example, we'll trigger the step only when the purchase amount exceeds $300. Then, configure the form. Select the appropriate view, and define the assignee for this stage. Next, let's configure the conditional logic for this step. Select the step and enable conditional execution. Using the Dynamic Expression Browser, select the total estimated cost field from the form. Then set the condition to execute the Director Approval step only when the amount is greater than $300. Requests below the threshold will automatically skip this step. And there we go. Our workflow is set. Switch between horizontal and vertical layouts to visualize workflows in the way that works best for you. For more scenarios, you can also access and copy the JSON definition, making it easier to inspect, share, reuse, or manage workflow structures behind the scenes. Once you're done, don't forget to save your flow from the top right corner. Here you'll find linked forms. Besides configuring forms within each step, you can also define which forms are available for the workflow. This helps narrow down form selection when configuring task steps. Next, go to Settings to activate the flow. Enable status and activation, and your flow is now active. When you're ready, go to Version History and publish the latest draft. Add the release notes, then publish the form to make it available for use. Form and flow have been created. Now, it's time to bring them together. Now, let's go to the Purchase Request form. In Setting, you'll find Flow Integration. Select the flow we created, start flow from Save or Draft. Select the latest draft for the flow version. Let's refresh and make the flow steps in order for both testing and production. With the integration in place, each submission can automatically move through the appropriate workflow and approval stages. We've built the form and the flow. Now, let's see how it all comes together. In Form Studio, we can preview and test the process from an end user's perspective. This is the form submission experience. At the top, you can see the workflow stages we configured earlier. Now, let's fill out the form. As configured in the OnStart view, only the request details and purchase details sections are visible and editable at this stage. Enter a quantity of 2 and an estimated unit cost of $250. The total estimated cost is calculated automatically based on the values entered. Upload the vendor quotation, then submit the request for approval. The request has now reached the Manager Approval stage. The manager can review the submission and choose to approve or reject it. If rejected, the comment field will appear automatically. For this example, we'll select Approve. Submit the approval, and the request moves to the Procurement Approval stage. The procurement team can review the request, make their decision, and submit it to the next stage. They'll also receive an email notification when a task is assigned to them. Now, we're at the director approval stage. This step was triggered because the total estimated cost exceeds the $300 approval threshold. After the final approval, the workflow is complete. The request has successfully moved through every stage, demonstrating how BPA automates and streamlines the entire approval process. Build processes, automate decisions, move work forward. Get started with BPA.